In the last decade, New York City has seen more growth than any city in the nation. Construction is everywhere. Skyscrapers continue to climb in what some would say is the most growth in our city's history. Safety becomes a major concern, and that's where Cole Technologies comes in at every level. From the environmental factors, to the foundation, to the rising steel, keeping up to code and standards, Cole Technologies is there every step of the way. Cole Technologies' initial focus when the company started in 1992 was structural failure investigations. When structural failure disasters, such as the I-35 West Bridge collapse in Minnesota happened in 2007, or the more recent high-rise fire damage and structural collapse in the UK occurred, they occurred without advance warning to their respective communities. Such is the nature of structural disasters, with no designated areas of the world prone to structural disasters, and no structural types are spared. Bridges, tunnels, commercial and residential buildings, parking facilities, multi-purpose facilities, etc. The inherent dangers and devastation of such disasters which follow often include the loss of lives and property. Structural distress and ultimate failures can be as simple as a building's concrete floor cracking and delamination, or can be as complicated as sections of a building and entire buildings cascading down as a result of structural design flaws. A leader in structural distress and failure investigations, Cole Technologies Group has collaborated with the largest structural design and engineering firms to investigate hundreds of structural failures in the New York metropolitan region and around the country, appropriately reflecting the firm's slogan of providing concrete solutions to concrete problems. A typical structural failure investigation begins with a peer review of the design and construction specification elements of the structure, followed by field condition assessments and field sampling of representative structural distress areas for engineering laboratory analyses. Prior to laboratory analyses, representative field samples, largely consisting of the extraction of varying sizes of concrete cores, are initially lapped into longitudinal halves and polished for low-power microscopic observations. This is followed by the preparation of thin section slides from the lapped sections and the employment of various analytical and scientific techniques, which include geoscientific, chemical, and physical methods for greater and in-depth evaluations. Results obtained from these analyses are invaluable in revealing the unique DNA properties, comprehensive performance characteristics, and history of the material components in the structure, and factors contributing to the structural failures being investigated. Cole Technologies Group's notable structural distress and failure investigation credits in the New York metropolitan area and elsewhere include Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, the United Nations International School, IBM Educational Center, the Bulova Corporate Center, Chicago Board of Trade, Diamond Hill Facade Evaluation, Hong Kong, China. Licensed by the New York State Departments of Health and Labor and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Environmental Technologies Division of Cole Technologies Group commenced its environmental consultant services in 1994. The same year, the firm began providing its compliance engineering inspection services. Environmental consultant services offered include environmental assessments and impact studies, environmental surveys, project management, inspections and monitoring, environmental testing. Notable environmental projects successfully concluded by the firm include the following: more than 30 non-shelter New York City Human Resources Administration buildings spread across the 5 boroughs of New York City, more than 30 New York City Fire Department buildings, MetLife Stadium at the Meadowlands, Randolph Houses in the city of New York. However, Cole Technologies Group's defining moment in the environmental consulting sector came about following the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks, when the firm was one of 2 firms selected to be responsible for all of the environmental inspections, testing, and evaluations within a 3-mile radius of the total collapse of the World Trade Center towers. Sometime later, A client requested the possibility. Cole Technologies, in addition to structural failure investigations, also perform preventative engineering inspections.
And that was the beginning of Cole Technologies Group shifting focus from structural failure investigations to preventive engineering inspections, compliance inspections.
There were certainly more buildings going up than falling down. Cole Technologies learned quickly that they had a knack for this specialty.
And we started out with 1.5 people, if you would.
We started with just a few projects, just doing petrographic work, and now we're doing major landmarks all over the 5 boroughs.
Then Cole Technologies went after every job they could get their hands on. Award-winning projects include American Airlines at JFK Terminals 8 and 9, the U.S. Courthouse Federal Office Building in New York City, Queens West in Long Island City, Weehawken Tunnel and Transit, Beekman Tower, Columbia University Medical Center and Education Building.
We became increasingly known in the region, and we started to get invited to work on numerous iconic structures all over the city.
We're here at 3 World Trade Center, where Cole Technologies is doing construction and inspection. Inspection is very important because it's all about safety and saving lives.
We are currently performing structural integrity type of inspections, which include structural steel fabrication, on-site erection, fire stopping, masonry, fireproofing inspections.
Make sure everything is done as per the contract requirements and it complies with the job specifications.
So you make sure that the material you're using is fire-rated material, and then the penetrations and the gaps between the walls are fire-rated the same way as well. This is a project that involves so many companies that work together, and our job is to make sure that all the companies follow the proper specifications and code requirements.
These inspections are at the substantial completion stages of the structure, which is expected to be ready for occupation in 2018. The One Vanderbilt building is currently at the earliest stages of construction.
What we do is we make sure that everything is done per spec and per the contract drawing. We take this drawing and we make sure that everything that was erected was done per this approved drawings.
As a structural steel frame building, early engineering inspections have included those for structural foundation support for the tower cranes in preparation for the erection of the main structural members of the building.
It's very, very important that we make sure every connected pieces is done properly before we move to the next floor. I come in and do my inspection, and I make sure that whatever was welded is per the details for that particular connection. So I'm going to sign off on it, write my initials and the date. Make sure everything is done properly. It saves money and it saves lives.
Today I've been asked to describe to you micropiles, which is among the many things that we inspect together with concrete reinforcing steel.
At the JFK site, Cole Technologies inspects every aspect of construction. Piles are generally used in the construction of structures to provide foundation support by transferring applied loads to the lower strata of the building foundation, where the load-bearing capacity is better.
For instance, when the concrete goes down on the floor, which has been done, concrete Cole's inspectors will make sure that that concrete at the plant and at the site is properly made, placed, and it reaches the appropriate strength. If you look, you'll see a wall that's completed. They'll witness that wall being placed over here. You'll see reinforcing bars in the wall. They will inspect it to make sure that there's the appropriate number, size, and location. And this is typical of being a column that will be installed in the future with regard to the size and the number of reinforcing bars.
Diversity is an important component in Cole Technologies' success.
My personal philosophy, I believe in inclusion.
Multicultural, so nobody is discriminated against.
When you have an amalgam of cultures, an amalgam of different ethnicities, each culture, ethnicity brings a different dimension to your organization, not to mention the benefits of bringing their talents, their respective talents, to your projects.
Concrete test cylinders sampled in the field and delivered to the laboratory are required to be tested at various stages for compressive strength properties.
But these are materials that are very important, and they has to be investigated before we put in the concrete.
Prior to the application of crushing test loads, samples are subjected to simulated in situ temperature and relative humidity.
I said concrete has a different mix design. For the high-rise building, we use different mix design, and for the other buildings, we have different mix design. Because this engineering is all about safety and the servicing of the human beings, and above all, the safety of the human beings is important.
Whether it be prominent developers in New York City, public sector agencies, or construction managers, these people rely on the talents of Cole Technologies.
Gone from government buildings to iconic landmarks, the airport to the United Nations to Barclays Arena.
Other projects include City Point, Brooklyn, the MGM Grand Casino Hotel in Las Vegas, Goldman Sachs World Headquarters in New York City, Resorts World International, JetBlue Terminal at JFK. Also at JFK, Delta Airlines Terminals 2, 3, and 4, the JFK Light Rail, and FDR Four Freedoms Park.
Right now we're preparing for a couple of big projects, so we're looking at a bright future for the company.
The future is bright. Humongous projects are coming down the pike.
Upcoming projects include the LaGuardia Delta Redevelopment Project, a $5 billion 40-gate terminal, the aerial connection between LaGuardia and New York City, the Long Island Railroad third rail connection between Long Island and Grand Central, the Tri-State Tunnel from Pennsylvania through New Jersey, terminating in New York. Also very soon, the redevelopment of Terminal A at Newark Liberty International Airport. Not to mention the MTA's capital budget is approximating at $38 billion.
Our industry can be equated to the medical industry. What we do is similar, but in a different way.
Cole Technologies is a leader in the field. They work well with many companies simultaneously, and they protect against disaster. They help build New York and make it a much safer place to live and work.
It's been a roller coaster for the past 25 years, but I'm very thankful to a lot of the people who have joined the company along the way and continue to make our clients happy. Let me put it this way. There is no way the company would have gotten this far without bringing on some very, very good people, good talent. I can certainly say that I could never have handled all of these projects by myself, So it's been a wonderful ride, and I thank everybody for their contributions towards the growth of the firm in the past 25 years.